I'm doing about journalism in Malaysia. Here's my introduction. It is a federal constitutional monarchy in Southeast Asia. It consists of 13 states and 3 federal territories. The capital city is Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur.
Oh.
Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur, thank you. It has some of the toughest censorship laws in the world, which I'll go on to later. The authorities use a lot of control over the media and can carry out restrictions in the name of national security. The industry is not under outright state control. The majority of both print and media broadcast outlets are controlled by either political parties in the ruling coalition or by businesses with political connections. Here's a bit about the history. In 1957, Malaysia got their independence, and basically, because there was a lot of talk about, because there's different cultures in Malaysia at the time, there's a lot of talk about how they can get the country all controlled. And in 1969, after the opposition party won seats, riots in the capital, and the rest of the country was placed in a state of emergency for 2 years, which was a painful moment in the nation's history that most Malaysians prefer to forget. Role of journalists. The authority used large control over the media, and in July 2012, a blogger, Saeed Abdullah Hussein Al-Attaz, was detained under the OSA after a group of 30 people complained about his controversial post on the Sultan of Johor. Say that. Some of the posts included documents supporting the blogger's claim that part of the fortune left by the late Sultan, who died in 2010, was embezzled. In August 2012, a blogger and opposition politician was sentenced to 3 months in jail for contempt of court in connection with articles that were thought to have insulted the government minister. The Barish protests is basically an organisation which tries to help people have a clean and fair elections, and they basically protest, and journalists appeared to be targeted by the police and counted 12 cases of assault. One of these, an attack on Radiz Razak of the Sun newspaper, resulted in hospitalisation, and a photographer for the Chinese language newspaper had his camera confiscated and was beaten and briefly arrested by security forces. And also Harry Fawcett of Qatar's Al Jazeera television network reported that police assaulted his camera crew and damaged its equipment, and a photojournalist with the Malay Sea Kini was temporarily detained as well. This is a bit about Reporters Without Borders. The 145th, and they fell 23 places below. And even though the battle by rights activists and online media outlets, a campaign of repression by the government illustrated the crackdown on the Barish 3.0 protests in April, and repeated censorship efforts continue to undermine basic freedoms, in particular the right to information. Freedom for journalists. Press freedom remained restricted in 2012 with both positive and negative developments in the legal range, and a number of attacks on journalists who attempted to document large protests, with the majority of both print and broadcast outlets are controlled by political parties, which I said before. The largest media corporation is Media Primer, which owns half of the Malay and English language newspapers, as well as many television channels, and they are believed to be closely linked with the United Malay National Organisation, which is the leading party of the BN. The Harun Management, which is associated with another BN member, the Malaysian Chinese Association, monopolises the Chinese language newspapers, and despite the BN's instance that mainstream newspapers of their owners' political and business interests often lead to self-censorship by journalists, and foreign print media are occasionally censored or banned. And on the Freedom House, it's stated as not free. For the internet, it remains a bright spot for the media landscape, with the government formally committed to a policy of refraining from direct online censorship through the Section 3 of the Communications and Multimedia Act. With around 66% of the population accessing the internet in 2012, Malaysia is home to many news websites and blogs that offer competing points of view. Although not all of these internet news organisations are politically independent, many have been suspected connections with politicians from either opposing or ruling alliance. And social networking sites such as Facebook continue to grow in 2012, offering forceful debates on political issues and government policies. And here's some information about the government and law. The Constitution guarantees freedom of expression under Article 10, but there's a lot of limitations to this right. The Sedition Act and harsh criminal offence laws are often used to enforce restrictions on the press and other critics of the government. Violations of these laws are punishable by several years in prison. And an amendment, 114A, to the Evidence Act that took effect in July got certain criticism from the media freedom activists, as it made those who own, host, edit, administrate websites, blogs and online forums liable for the content they publish to their services, including rebellious comments. So if someone has a blog and they're talking about the government in a bad way, then it's their fault, so then they can get punished for that. In 1988, Broadcasting Act allows the Information Ministry to decide who can own broadcast stations and what type of television services is suitable for the Malaysian public, leading to considerable self-censorship among broadcast journalists. And my conclusion is that Malaysia has tough censorship laws. A lot of the media is controlled by political parties. The authorities use a lot of control over the media. Journalists who write about the government get punished, and if they protest, they get attacked by the police. The internet and social networking sites can help journalists post about corruption, but they are liable as well. Even though they have laws to help journalists, they still have sections which they can put the journalists in prison, so they have to be careful about what they write. That's it.
Okay, thank you.